Welcome to Collections of Cinema.
Hello, everybody. Welcome back to a new episode of Collections of Cinema.
Hello.
Thank you for subscribing. Thank you for liking. Thank you for supporting us. If you want to support us, like the best way to do is on Patreon, because that goes directly into our funding and we can make the production a little better and bigger. So last week we had Barbie, and after Barbie we announced, because of Libby, was it Libby?
Olivia.
Yeah, number one. She picked number one, and number one in the list is 1917 from 2019. Sam Mendes directed it. It's a war movie, or technically
movie.
an anti-war movie, I would say. And it's partially inspired by the story that Mendes got told by his grandfather Alfred, who served in World War One. And the film takes place after the German retreat to the Hindenburg Line during Operation Alberic, and follows two British soldiers, Will Schofield and Tom Blake, in their mission to deliver an important message to call off a doomed offensive attack.
Yep.
That's essentially the plot of the movie. So two soldiers played by George McKay, a great, phenomenal
Absolutely
actor,
phenomenal.
and Dean Charles Chapman, who are basically the center of the movie, or at least, spoiler alert, George McKay is more the center of the movie because his colleague dies early on.
Yes.
Again,
I know we've said this before when we record these episodes, but if you haven't seen the movie and you don't want to be spoiled, definitely watch the movie before
first.
Listening to our podcast, because we will be spoiling things.
Yeah. So we watched it last night again on this beautiful 4K Blu-ray.
I have to say, by far, I mean, I tend to like or enjoy war movies. But if that's something you can even say, but I think you know what I mean. But by far, this is my absolute favorite. Like, it's in general in the top of my like go-to. Like, I love this movie so much.
I mean, it's very heavy, and the undertone is very obviously war, but it's not as gruesome and as horrific as a lot of war movies
It's not as like war central, even though it is a war movie and he's basically in a war zone the entire time. It's not so. It's not in the front lines.
Yeah, for example,
like war for me is not really a character in the movie. If that makes sense.
It's more a side character, and you feel it more or less all the time, but it's not the center. And compared to Quiet on the
All Quiet on the Western Front.
Western Front, that came out based on the book and based on the movie previews. Came out on Netflix, I think 2 years ago, 2022, I think. Where the war is a main character, where they are on the front lines, and you have the intercut between the guys on the front lines and then also the guys in the war rooms, who basically say, okay, we do this, we attack that, blah, blah. Yeah.
So essentially, I don't know if you said this already. I was reading something when you started, but it's supposed to look like a one-shot. Did you say that already?
Nah.
So the movie's designed to look like a one-shot, and they do a very good job of making it feel like a one-shot. It's not.
Yeah.
Some trivia, though. The longest one-shot in the movie that's an actual one-shot is 8.5 minutes long.
Roger Deakins was the cinematographer. He worked with Mendes already on Jarhead, which is also a phenomenal movie. Maybe we do that at some point. The idea was to always follow the main actor or the main actors.
It's very rare that they're not on screen. There are a few moments where it like pans away from them, but it's very rare that they're not on screen.
Yeah, and the idea was to just be super into the immersed into the experience of the boys.
I mean, I feel like when you're watching it, it definitely feels like you're like on the journey with them. You know, like you're walking along with them. You're doing and just the way that it's filmed really makes you feel like you're part of it.
Yeah, and also the more intense dramatic scenes are, I feel like, way heavier. And the fact that the music is a very integral part, but it's not very in your face, where you hear it once in a while. It's in the background a little bit, and it elevates the scene. It's not in your face, which even puts more emphasis off the acting and off the dramatic scenes that unfold. Yeah.
But let's just quickly the essential plot, like why they're together the whole time.
Said that,
yeah, but a little more to it. So they were chosen, or I guess Blake was chosen. He had to pick somebody, and he picked Schofield. And they have to go to another base. Essentially, they have to travel to another base with direct orders to stop an attack.
It's not a base; it's the front lines. They have to go to the front lines where an attack is planned.
And they have learned that it is a setup, like it's a trap. And the Germans have retreated from where they thought they were, and they are now planning like a surprise attack, essentially, or it's a trap where there's no way that they would survive it. So that he has to get there, or they have to get there very quickly to try to stop them from sending out a wave, any wave of people.
Yeah, and they essentially have to go through no man's land, through
active war zones,
enemy
essentially.
territory, and deliver that message to save hundreds of soldiers,
including Blake's brother, who's out there.
So the continuous take thing is obviously something that is very. It's not new. A lot of other movies have done it. For example, the movie Birdman is one that comes to mind where you see the cuts. Most of the time, the cuts are through dark doors going through alleyways or something like that. But in 1917, they really try to hide the cuts,
and
which is kind of cool.
And they do a great job. There's a couple, maybe like 2 or 3 that are obvious. Okay, that's where the cut was, but only obvious because like it went black, or because they're like scrolling along a wall where you're like, okay. There's only one black, where they really cut to black because he gets knocked out.
Yeah. But that's actually the only really cut to black. Everything else is trying to hide cuts.
Yeah. And it's so well done. It's insane.
Yeah, it's very well done. Some cuts, it's really cool to just follow, like to watch the movie a second or third time to just try to find out where the cuts are, the edits. It's really cool. Filmed, I think it's interesting. It was filmed the first time shot on the Arri Alexa Mini LF. That's basically now the main go-to camera for most Hollywood movies. It was basically made for that movie. So the Arri Alexa LF was like the bigger camera, but it was too big for their purpose because 2 men had to carry it, or they had to move
really crazy shots.
They had to move the camera in very tight spaces, so they had to develop the same camera but in a smaller body. And it's a massive achievement, and I think the image quality of the picture speaks for itself.
Maybe you know this. I'm sure that you do. So it'd be fun to talk about. There's one scene in particular where Schofield is now by himself, and he's crossing a bridge and then gets shot at from not a watchtower, but like a building where a sniper is in there. And he's getting shot at, and then he makes it into the building, and they basically shoot at each other at the same time. Schofield falls backwards, gets knocked out. The next scene is one of the coolest camera shots I've ever seen in my life.
It's a pretty cool shot.
Where you're following the camera going up the stairs back to where the sniper was, and Schofield is going downstairs. So Schofield's going downstairs to go back outside. And you're following, going upstairs. You see the sniper, dead on the floor. The camera shot goes through the window and then down, and then you're back on Schofield, like as if they just kind of like cross over each other, and it's so insane. And
it's really cool. It's
amazing.
It's easily done. It was pretty easily. But it's super easy to explain. So 2 people carried the camera towards the window. There was a crane waiting to put it on the crane. The crane carried the camera down, and from there people took it again.
How is it that you can do that so smoothly though? Like where you have to put the camera from carrying on to something without it like
that's exactly
shaking.
Why they had to develop something smaller. And I mean obviously a lot of movement got stabilized.
That's so nuts. It's such a cool shot.
But it was a lot of rehearsal. Obviously, they had to rehearse a lot, and they had to.
I mean, the actors alone. I don't know about the camera crew, but the actors alone rehearsed for 6 months before they shot.
Yeah, no. The most of the camera crew is also sometimes part of scenes where, for example, they put the camera back on. I mean, actually, not most. It's only one scene, I think. The last running scene through when the first wave is attacking.
Also, a great scene.
There you can see the camera people basically then running as soldiers towards the enemy. But yeah, I think it's one of those movies where you want to watch the making of, because it's very interesting how they pulled off some scenes, and why they used some scenes. For example, the last scene where he runs.
Yeah.
There are some really cool shots in there, and basically it took. Basically, they took one of the takes that have some unseen elements in it, or some unforeseen elements in that was not planned to happen, but it felt so natural that they said, no, we keep that shot, we leave it like this. And the whole movie feels like that, where it feels very realistic in the sense that I don't know why, maybe because the camera just moves so dynamically through the scenes and so like fluidly,
effortlessly, it seems.
Yeah. But yeah, it's a great example for a one-shot movie, essentially. There's another movie that is called Victoria. It's a German production, and that actually is one shot. The whole movie is one shot. It's like actually a really cool concept. It's not working well all the time, but it's still a very cool concept to see, okay, can we pull off a whole movie that is 2 hour long that is actually one shot. So maybe we do that one at some point as well.
Two of my favorite scenes that I feel like are the most powerful scenes in the movie. So one is just after Blake gets killed, his partner. And then Schofield is picked up by another troop of soldiers, and he gets in like the back of I don't know what those vehicles are called,
I mean,
but
it's a truck essentially.
Yeah, he gets in the back with a bunch of the other soldiers, and his friend just died, and these other soldiers obviously don't know that. They're just there, and they're going about their conversation, and they're laughing and telling jokes, and every time I've watched this movie, I have no idea what they're saying because you're focused on Schofield. You're focused on his face. He's just like, you can see the heartache and the tragedy. And also I feel like this sense of, I have to do this alone now. Like I'm finishing this mission alone. And you see all of this emotion just in him sitting there, and the music that's playing over. It's just it's such a powerful scene. And no matter how many times we watch the movie, I can't tell you what the soldiers are talking about, even though they're talking loudly. It's not like they tried to...
I mean, yesterday I tried to listen a little bit, so they made fun of like one of the sergeants or
that I tried to listen to, but then, my attention just goes back to him, and it's so powerful. It's such a great scene.
Yeah, the other scene I bet is the wood scene.
Yes.
Yeah, where he basically...
finally...
gets out of like the water, crawls over dead bodies, full of horror, starts crying, and then he hears like singing in the woods. He slowly walks into the woods, and there's this one battalion group of soldiers sitting and listening
in the middle of the woods on kind of this like, it's almost like foggy, like dreary looking in a way, or just like kind of mystical looking. I feel like it's very mystical looking.
And the one soldier is singing like an old folk song, like Irish or British folk song, I don't know.
And again, the camera pans around a little bit on the soldiers, but again, just at the end, just focuses in on Schofield.
Yeah, it's a very cool shot through the.
And again, you feel his emotion sitting there, like he finally he doesn't know yet that he made it there, but he at least knows he made it somewhere where his people are, and you can just see you can see everything that he feels.
That's I think that's the beauty of the movie, because you immediately, I mean, I don't want to talk about the end, the first and the ending yet, because it's a cool full circle moment. But you get immediately thrown into the movie. You get immediately, okay, what's going on? What needs to happen? And then it just dials in and it slowly builds. Where after he gets knocked out and he has to basically run through this, I think it's German people in this old French village. And then he gets like this very nice scene with this French lady with a baby. But then afterwards again, this horror of having to not only run again and dodge bullets, but then kill a young soldier.
Which he tried to not do. He tried to just have the soldier be quiet and not say anything, but ended up having to kill him in kind of a shitty way, like not even a quick. He basically had to suffocate him because he couldn't make any noise.
And then falling into the water, jumping into the water.
That's also a great shot.
Finally making it, and then again this very quiet, slow scene where everything just slows down for a moment and pauses, and you almost forget about his mission,
chaotic it was,
and that it's very urgent, and then all of a sudden it picks up again, and then it let's talk about the beginning and the ending, because it's a cool moment. So the beginning is the first shot, essentially him and his buddy, or him sitting on it, leaning on a tree in a field, and it's a very peaceful moment where you can say, okay, how is this even war?
And even like the colors are beautiful, like it feels like a very peaceful place to sit.
But then it goes directly into the trenches, and it's all like gray and
all
brown,
of a sudden it gets more chaotic, and it gets more like you feel the pace of things, like you feel like, okay, they have to quick get somewhere.
And then the ending is he essentially finds the brother, tells him that his friend died, gives him the what is it called, the tag, his
dog tag,
and I think his rings. And
he took his rings, and I think he took the letter he didn't take, or the notebook picture, or whatever.
Not a picture, he didn't take a picture, he put back, and he then said that he should tell his mom that he was brave and he didn't cry or something. And then he realizes that he's done for now. He's like, he's done his mission. He can just rest. And he walks into this field, and there's a tree, and he leans against the tree again. And the last shot is him just sitting there, and then fade to black, and it's just, or cut to black. It's such a powerful full circle moment where you start with two people and ending up with one, and it's the same scene essentially, but there is so, like, in his face you can see so much happened.
He's a brilliant actor. Absolutely brilliant.
I mean, he was Oscar nominated.
I feel like it's not very common these days where you instantly feel connected to characters, and you instantly feel like, oh, this is really happening. That happens so rarely. Sometimes it takes a while to like feel empathy for the characters, or to feel like you care about them. Sometimes it doesn't happen at all. And with this movie, it's instantaneous. You like these two characters right from the start. Like you feel like you know them, and you feel like I know somebody like that. It's just it's so well done, and that's a big testament to the writing, but I think an even bigger testament to the actors.
Oh, he actually was not nominated. I see.
He wasn't nominated.
Nah.
How bonkers
was
is
a
that?
Massive year.
Still.
But it was Best Picture, Best Director, Best Original Screenplay, Best Cinematography, which they won. Best Makeup and Hairstyle, Best Original Score, Best Production Design, Best Sound Editing, Best Sound Mixing, Best Visual Effects.
How was he not nominated?
The other actor
was nuts.
He was not nominated.
Who was nominated that year? Do you see that there?
No. I'm just looking if he was nominated somewhere else.
I'm sure.
But probably he did. That movie won a lot of shit. It was nominated so many times. There's a whole Wikipedia page just dedicated to that. You can read it. I don't want to go into the historical accuracy. They tried to really accurately reproduce how it felt in the trenches in No Man's Land. I think they did a really good job.
I mean, we don't know, but
what we don't know.
Yeah, we don't know that they did a good job. We have to.
There are pictures and videos of that time.
Yeah, but people talking about it, you would need like firsthand.
Obviously,
Reviews.
the story is not 100% the same, but how the soldiers looked and everything, that they basically just made it very detailed and tried to give it the accuracy that it deserved. Then I quickly want to yeah. So there are different other war movies set in the time, and one we already said is All Quiet on the Western Front, which is also a brilliant movie, which it depicts more the horror of the First World War. So it's basically just on the front line, but then there's also this part of those basically the leaders sitting in their houses eating the most fancy meals, and then deciding basically over the fate of those young boys who fight for basically nothing.
Yeah.
It's a very, very good anti-war movie, but
there's
it's
also what is the newer one that we just watched about World War II? I can't remember. It was also nominated last year.
World War II, that's World War One, Danielle.
I know. I'm talking about what is the movie about World War II that we just watched. Last year it was nominated, the German one.
All Quiet on the Western Front?
Nah.
Last year.
It was nominated for an Oscar.
Dunkirk
Foreign
is the other
film.
one about...
We raved about it.
Dunkirk is the other one about World War II, though, but it's also falls into that category of a very dire situation of people trying to survive and ultimately are able to survive, even though it's World War II. But I would also count it very similar in that category of
Zone
war
of
movies.
Interest.
Oh, Zone of Interest, but that's not really a war movie. It's a war drama. I mean, not really.
It's not
though.
a war movie, but it's a war drama.
No, I wouldn't even say it's a war movie at all, because it doesn't depict anything about the war.
But it's about the war times. It does depict about the war because it is about not like you're on the.
But it's more about how the Nazis live.
I know, but I still consider it a wartime. It's a wartime
concentration
movie.
Camp. It's a wartime movie, but it's not a war movie. It's a drama.
But I feel like it falls into the category still.
Yeah, I would not say so, but
I would.
Agree to disagree. 1917. So if you have not seen it, I think it's an easier war movie to watch. I know a lot of people don't like war movies because, first of all, because of all the shit that's going on, and second, because they're most of the time not easy to watch. But I feel like 1917.
Well, I think a lot of people also feel like war movies are all the same, which.
Yes and no.
Yeah, I'm saying people feel that way. I'm not saying it is that way.
But I would agree.
It's not a yes and no. It's just some people feel that way.
So I feel like the typical American war movie, they kind of feel like the same most of the time, because it's most of the time either Vietnam War or some.
Yeah, but the thing is, a lot of times it doesn't matter which war it is.
Exactly.
War movies feel the same.
They feel the same.
A lot of movies feel the same like that, and so that's why a lot of people don't like them. But that's where this one I think stands out, because it doesn't feel it is a war movie. It doesn't feel like a war movie in that sense. It's definitely more of a drama, and it's definitely more about his journey through the war zones, and just following him. And it's beautifully shot. It's very emotional, and I think it's brilliant. For me, this is like a perfect movie.
Yeah, it is. It is. But what I wanted to say is that it's like, if you don't like war movies, you might like this movie, because it plays during the war, but it doesn't really depict it. It doesn't show the horrific scenes of a war movie. That's more the Quiet on the Western Front.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. I mean, Sam Mendes is also known for Skyfall, American Beauty, Jarhead. He's done some really great movies. I'm a fan of his. And obviously Roger Deakins, one of the best cinematographers and the legend in that field. Okay, let's go to Movie of the Week.
Movie of the Week.
We didn't watch that many movies, actually.
Really?
No, we only watched 3, actually. Oh, no, actually only 2, because 1917 is the movie we just did, so we can pick that one. So we watched American Made of 2017 with Tom Cruise, and Gone Girl by David Fincher.
That's actually a hard choice between the two.
Gone Girl, it's easy for me.
Really? I think that's a hard choice. They're both very good in their own way.
They're great, but American Made is more the entertainment thing, which is great. But Gone Girl is more the serious stuff, and I like that. I like that better.
Yeah, I'll agree with Gone Girl.
Yeah, Gone
but
Girl.
both are great. I feel like both are great movies.
No, they're both good.
I think American Made tells a really interesting story and does a good job, and it keeps it somehow still kind of like lighthearted, like classic Tom Cruise, kind of slightly lighthearted but still action filled. And
I mean, yeah, it's based on an incredible story, but the movie itself is very action comedy stylish with thriller elements a little bit thrown in there, but it's very lighthearted, even though
I don't know that I would actually say comedy, but I would say charming.
There are comedic elements.
Charming.
I mean, the way sometimes he just gets away with things, and there are comedic elements in there, even though the movie was, or the story of the guy was very serious.
Yeah, but Gone Girl is great.
David Fincher, I mean, great American psychological thriller from 2014 with Ben Affleck, Rosamund Pike, Neil Patrick Harris, and it's basically about a vanishing of a woman, and it's a very great movie because David Fincher keeps you guessing a lot.
Yeah, we shouldn't spoil too much because that's
anything.
one that I feel like people should just go watch for sure.
But
if you haven't seen it,
it's a great movie, and it unfolds in a very interesting way, and I didn't remember the ending when we watched it.
I didn't either.
So I was like, okay,
I remembered the first twist, and
I remembered everything.
After that, I didn't remember anything.
But the ending, I was so convinced that there was a solution, and then there was not really a solution, which was even better. Great movie. It's
really great, and it keeps you guessing the whole time. It's kind of like, I mean, I've said this before on the podcast, I love a good whodunit. It's very much like a whodunit, but it's also then not, and it's great. It keeps you guessing. It's fun. It's entertaining, and you are constantly questioning the characters. Like, I like this character. I hate this character. I like this character. Like, they do a really good job of really also keeping you.
What I like it
uncertain.
It plays a lot with the theme of television and public statements. Like, that is a heavy theme in the movie, which is very interesting because he does a good job of portraying, okay, if we play it like this, or if we say those things, then it might turn this way. To manipulate the public.
And in general, the media, the media manipulating the public, and the media having such a high impact on what people think.
It's a great theme
with no like evidence to back themselves up. Like, it's very it fits exactly with the times now too.
It's a great movie.
Great movie.
Okay, and we have to pick a new movie for next week, which we record again, because then we can post it on our Instagram. Follow us on our Instagram if you don't, and we also post things on our Threads account. So if you have an Instagram, you also have a Threads, or you can have a Threads. And the movie for next week.
So we've got
high number, please.
Movie number 1006.
Scrolling.
Jeff the Movie Man.
Scrolling.
Which
is Raging Bull.
What year is Raging Bull?
1980. That's awesome.
Great.
So next, or I don't know if we post next week. We'll see, because we have to produce a little bit before we leave for the US. But follow us, subscribe, like. Hit us up if you want to see something more or something different. And if you want to support us, head over to our Patreon, where Joe is the only real Patreon member right now. And he would like to have some other people
friends
joining. And the next episode will be Raging Bull.
See you there.